Hello again from IFC. We're wondering out there today, what would you be willing to give in order to spare the life of others? How about your eyesight? I'm curious about that. Up next, we'll find out about with somebody who did. Hello again, Michael, with the Iowa Firearms Coalition. We've got another Warrior Wednesday edition. We got a special guest here for you today with a really great story and some insights on some things that I think that we all need to be considering. So I'd like to introduce Raul. Do you want to go ahead and give us an explanation of who you are and why we need to know who you are?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Well, my name is Raul Mendez, and I actually grew up all around firearms. At the age of 6 was the first time I got introduced, and after that, I was hooked. I was hooked after that, and the rest is just history. Because since that day, oh my God, like I can't even explain it. It was just something else. But the thing, my dad introduced me to firearms, but he also introduced me to gun safety.
Yeah.
And it's always a priority. So if I was around them, I knew how to handle them, when not to touch them. The whole don't never point it at anyone unless you're willing or you need to, and things like that. So by the time I was like 19, no, I think I was about 20, I left the state of California because that's where I was born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
Laws are a little different out there, but Arizona eventually became a constitutional carry state. So since then, I've been carrying a concealed firearm, religiously. Uh, just knowing the fact of all the evil that's out there, and especially, being a family man. I had 2 daughters, and I just knew that I would do anything, that I would be willing to do anything to protect them. So it's not like, I know people probably see it like, oh, he's a coward because he carries. Like, no, because if my girls or my daughters or my wife are in danger, I'm not going to bother throwing a punch. I'm going to shoot first and then evaluate and, deal with the rest later. So that really paid off.
Well,
And
explain
a
that a
lot.
little bit. I don't think very many people in my neighborhood, they may have seen national news, but in Iowa, we don't hear a lot about what's going on in Arizona unless it makes front page national news. So you should probably tell us a little bit about so everybody listening can figure out what it is that you're referring to when you say that time or that day or that choice. Because I don't think very many people around here may know your story, Raul.
Yeah, so I do have a story, and of course, mainstream media just ignored it. And it's unfortunate because this story really teaches a lesson about the importance of our Second Amendment, the importance of, carrying daily, no matter where you are. And pretty much just teaches you, what are you willing to do to protect others? What are you willing to give up to protect others, to protect your family, and to protect yourself? So, like I said, carrying really paid off on July 3rd of 2022. It was
Okay.
just a regular day. It was a day before 4th of July, but it was that, long weekend. Everybody was off the next day. So a buddy invited my family and I to, family and friends gathering. Nothing crazy, nothing, just inviting strangers, nothing like that. It was all just friends and family, people that we've been gathering together with, for years. So we go, there's probably about 30 of us, 35, give or take. And later that evening, towards the nighttime, we decided to go light some fireworks. A little box, little package you get out Walmart,
Yeah.
just a little fountain. So we're lighting fireworks, and some neighbor comes up, excuse me, seemed friendly and everything, and just introduces himself, and nothing out of the ordinary, just a neighbor sees us, sees a group of people, kids running around and stuff like that. Well, that neighbor, when we decide to go into the house, he decides to let himself in. And that's when the unexpected happens. This is where the worst nightmare you can say, happened. he decides to just pull out a pistol and just starts opening fire at everybody,
In the
not caring
house?
in the house. Uh, Two buddies died. One got shot in the throat. The other got shot just executed style. He was on the floor begging for his life, telling them that I got kids, got a wife and everything, and he didn't care. Just executed him, shot him in the top of the head. You got the house just scattering, everybody running towards the front door, and he's shooting towards the front door of whoever's trying to run out, just seeing who he can catch. Catching women on the back, on the shoulder, and the arm, and just whatever he can catch. Fortunately, same with me. I was the second person to get shot. First person gets shot in the throat. Soon as I realize or I hear, that loud sound, I turn around and see what's going on because my back was facing them or
Mhm.
him. I turn around before I can realize what's happening or even fully turn. He catches me, with a 9 mm, right here in the side of the head, right near my temple, near my right ear. Bullet just travels all the way through inside, fracturing, my jaw, eye socket, nose, and came out my left eye. So took out my left eye completely. You know, Everything just went dark. Losing vision on my left eye and the blood everywhere. Can't really see. So I hit the ground. As everybody's scattering, he makes his way into a master bedroom where there was about, I think, three women and two children hiding. And he decides like he's not going to stop until everybody in that house is murdered. Well, these women, two of the women, brave women, did what they had to do and try to fight. They tried to fight him off. Try to fight him off. Try to do what they can. And one of the girls was actually yelling my name. Really close friend. We've been, like I said, I've known her and her husband, for so long, and they know I carry religiously. Everywhere I go, I'm always, they know I'm packing heat, so she's yelling my name as she's trying to wrestle this guy for him not to kill her, even though she already had got shot probably like 4 or 5 times,
Mm.
like three in the arm, three, four in the arm, and one in the leg. Well, I was in the dining area. They were in the master bedroom for some miracle. God wasn't ready, for me to go. I I get up, I get up while I'm bleeding out, blood everywhere. And at that point, like I had a choice to make. Run out that house. I'm right near the back door. Run out that back door or go towards those screams. I don't know who's gone, who's dead, but I know, what's going on. There's a murder going on. Don't know where my wife and kids are. It's like I can't back down. If I'm still breathing, if I can still move, I'm gonna stay in this fight.
Hmm.
So I pull out my own firearm that I conceal, and I went towards those screams. And I mean, as soon as I saw him, I don't know what it was because my vision wasn't all there. What told me he was a threat or that was a threat, but I mean, I managed to hit him 4 times center mass and just took him down right there in the master bedroom and just ended, his killing spree.
Well, that's this is a hard thing for me to comment on without becoming a little emotional. The truth of the matter is I'm thankful to our creator that you were there, and you were willing and able. Uh, Although it sounds very, very horrible, and I'm not going to say something that would disrespect you or anybody else by saying something like, I understand, because I don't, Raul. That would be a bold-faced lie. But I can tell you that I'm appreciative and I'm glad that you were there and that this chaos was ended and there wasn't further loss of life. Thank you for your
Right.
work. Thank you for your dedication. Now, as I'm thinking about what you're saying and envisioning in my mind a little bit of this chaos, of this mayhem, I ask myself, how many people out there think about what things like this could happen when they wake up in the morning, and how many people further go on to add a self-defense weapon to their daily carry, and if what they're prepared to do or not do, because these are big, heavy decisions and they come with consequences. I'm glad that you were there, but you also, by being where this happened, I mean, you forfeited your sight. I'm sure that there are problems associated with your injuries, yet you persevere. So I'm glad that you were there. I'm glad that you were willing and able. I don't think that we mentally prepare as often as what we could and should. And my
Yeah.
hope is by having you on and visiting with you a little bit, people could think about some of these circumstances. I mean, would you go to celebrate the birth and the success of a new nation with the celebration, and you go to these neighbors' houses where, like you said, I'm envisioning being in my dad's backyard with all these family and friends around, and the neighborhood, coming down on my mom and dad's backyard. I'm envisioning something like that with this celebration, and then something absolutely out of the realm of possibility happens, and then what? I think that we should be mentally preparing. I think we should be training as often as we can for this. So how did those things, mental preparation and training, work for you? And would you advocate more of that? And how would you advocate for that? Because I'm sure you've thought about all those things plenty. So would you share that with us?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, you can never be too prepared for a situation like this. Nobody wants to go through something like this, but it can happen, and I'm that proof that it can happen. Honestly, I've never had like actual professional training. My training, I guess you could say, with a firearm was just going out, not even to a shooting range, because I would never go to ranges. It was going out to the middle of the desert, 4x4ing, find, a mountain and just shoot there, shoot some targets, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, Nothing crazy, nothing where I'm practicing sweeping a room and pulling out my firearm, how fast I can, unholster or something like that. Nothing like that. Just being comfortable enough that I know what my firearm is, comfortable with my firearm, and comfortable enough that I know what it does. And what I mean what it does, this is, the mag release, this is how you, little things like that. Because in a situation like that, you got your adrenaline pumping. I mean, half your motor skills or even more are, or things that you would think or you would want to remember or you think you're training for, that goes all out the window. It's what you practiced religiously, that you've done it so much or enough that it just engraved and it became second nature.
That's
Second nature meaning I carried every day, so my second nature knew I had a firearm. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I religiously always keep one up in the chamber, so I knew even while bleeding out, like I knew there was one in the chamber. And little things like that. So it's not like sometimes I have one in the chamber and sometimes I don't. Because if you're never consistent about it, when a situation comes, you're not going to know if you have one in the chamber. You're not going to remember if when you, tucked in your firearm this morning or before you left the house, if you put one up, just things like that. So just having a plan like, hey, I'm always going to have one in the chamber. I'm always going to carry. I'm always going to, little things like that. I'm always going to carry here, never moving it around, because those little things is what counts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because again, like everything goes out the window. I mean, especially, in a life or death situation, is one thing, but imagine being shot and bleeding out and still being in a life or death situation. Like it gets even worse, you know. So again, it's just consistency. Consistency, know your firearm, and that's all I can say. I mean, that's all I can advice I can give.
So those are the things that have led up to um what was it, July 3rd, 2022? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And so since that time, uh, has anything changed? Are you looking at things differently than you did before? Are you training differently? Are you preparing differently than what you did before? I mean, is there a stark contrast to before and after, or how has that been for you?
Yeah, everything changed, of course. I mean, before was I'm getting ready in case something happened. You know, you
Mhm.
never know. Just kind of, that mentality. You never know, something could happen. So I'm gonna be prepared. Now it's kind of it's different. Now it's kind of like it can happen. I'm proof that it happened. You never know. So now that the whole mentality is different. Like I'm not gonna say paranoid, but at the same time, yeah, you can call it. I'm paranoid now. As I walk out the front door, I'm see if anybody's out there. If I'm walking towards my car, I'm seeing if anybody's following me. If I'm at the store, I'm looking around, making sure nobody does nothing funny. You know what I mean? You can, yeah, you can call it paranoid, but at the
Well,
same time, it's. I mean, that could be the difference. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy the moment with my family or my daughters, but I'm just extra precaution.
yeah,
I'm being precautious and I'm making sure they're safe
yeah,
because that day, if I wasn't prepared, if that bullet would have struck, an inch or a centimeter at a different angle, I wouldn't be here.
yeah,
And most likely, my daughters wouldn't be here.
right.
And I'm their protector.
Yeah, I do know. When you say it's interesting to use the word paranoid. I've gone through these exercises with my wife, my daughter who's 14, starting to do some of these things with my son who's 10, and I walk them through what you're describing, which is being situationally aware. And I explain to him, I don't want you to be paranoid in the sense of that word, in terms of you fear those things around you, but I want you to be aware of them. I want you to be cognizant about them. I mean, we talk about before we enter. Let's say that we're going to walk in Walmart or go to the hardware store or whatever, right? And I asked my daughter, I'm like, okay, when you go in there, I want you to be situationally aware, like always. See if you can remember two or three of the descriptions with the people wearing the orange aprons in Home Depot, right? And what their names are, and so you can describe them. Oh, by the way, have a plan for how you're going to get to an exit. Where is the most likely second exit when we come in here? And oh, by the way, when you go out that second exit, do you need to turn left or right to make it back to the car, which you could call a rally point or whatever? And those aren't exercises, Raul, as you know. They're not exercises in paranoia. They're exercises in having a plan and being situationally aware where we're at so that we can defend ourselves, or better yet, escape mayhem every chance we get. I mean, by doing that, people like you and me are looking around and we're seeing these, that doesn't look right. This looks like a problem. And oh, by the way, because I recognize that this might be problematic, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm going to exit. You know what I mean?
Uh,
I have people, Raul, and you may have experienced this too. I'd like to know, but they seem to think that by carrying a gun somehow, uh, I'm a confrontational person. And I let them know, oh no, it's the opposite. Every conflict that I get into is an armed conflict because I'm armed. So what that means to me is that places a really high level of responsibility on me and on my actions. So as a result, I find myself the calmest, happiest guy you've ever met, who leaves at the minute that looks like there's going to be some sort of scuffle because I don't want to be any part of it. And so as a
exactly.
result, I'm just not mixed up in any chaos very often, you know what I mean? And so it's different when you view the world with a situationally aware presence, or that view. And so I'm not surprised at all to hear that you're looking at things differently. You've had a life altering experience. I mean, so has your you said your wife and your daughters. I'm sure that they look at these things differently. They should.
Uh,
And I'm glad you're shepherding them. That's what, that, as you said, that's your job.
Right, exactly. So I mean, besides just seeing everything different, I train more. I go out and train. I found me actually good friend now after the fact. I met him after, but he trained me, continues to train me, great guy. I mean, he's an ex-Marine, ex-SWAT professional trainer, and he's the one that actually got me into becoming a trainer myself. So I'm actually now certified firearms instructor.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, even after what happened, I see that I have a big responsibility because I can either silent this story, or I could speak out and give false, how can I say it, false advice. Be like that know-it-all.
Yeah.
I don't know it all, and honestly, a lot of people reach out now and ask me like, "Hey, what will you carry, and what do you recommend? Hey, do you recommend I carry here? Do you recommend I do this?" And I can't give advice without, training myself more and being able to give an actual proper, advice. So decided to become a trainer, and I'm never going to stop being a student. I'll always be a student. I'll always learn something. And again, I just feel like I have that huge responsibility now to, you know, like a lot of people tell me, like, you're that role model. You're what we would want to be if we're ever in a life or death situation, You rose to the occasion, and just a lot of great support and comments that I get, from the community. And after that, again, I just see like now I got a huge responsibility to speak up and be that living proof, because we do have a problem here, in America, when it comes to the news, the mainstream media, and all you hear is of the bad stuff. Oh, this person came in with an assault rifle and slaughtered this many people and did this, and that's all you hear. That's it.
Yeah.
My story never made it. Why? Because you got a good guy with the gun that rose to the occasion, pulled out his concealed firearm, and eliminated the threat and saved lives. That's not part of the agenda.
You're telling me that even your local news didn't carry anything about this on
Local
television?
Fo- Fox was the only one.
Okay.
Fox was the only one. Everybody else, no, nobody
Well,
else.
I'm not in a position to make any dictates over what the mainstream media does or doesn't do, but I agree with you. It's disappointing that the news that they offer is very one-sided and seems to be a propaganda these days, and that's too bad. But that doesn't mean that we can't spread the word, which is one of the reasons that we wanted to have you on. I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you
definitely.
for sharing a little bit of your story. I try, Raul, to be as empathetic as possible, and I have people like you on. IFC has people like you that are willing to spend time with us, but we know that it comes at a cost. I have no doubt that reliving these things, especially for other people on camera, can be very trying. So I'm not mute to that fact. I mean, that isn't something that escapes me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for your willingness to share something that was very, very tough. And thank you for your willingness again, that you were present and able that day. And hopefully you never befall anything like this again. But something tells me that you'll be prepared for round two if that's the case. And I think that's the best we can hope for.
Exactly.
Okay,
Thank you
Raul
so much.
Mendez, thank you again. Is there anything that we need to tell people in parting?
No, that's it. Just be prepared, stay vigilant. Evil's everywhere, so we cannot rely, on the government, law enforcement to protect us. You know, Law enforcement showed up. I mean, way after, during the aftermath. So it's up to us.
Yeah.
It's up to us. I mean, we all have that huge responsibility, and we must exercise our God-given right to the Second Amendment. So that's all I got.
That's the best way to end. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.